Hey there YouTube, welcome to my quick unboxing for the Pioneer XDP-100R. So this player just recently came out not too long ago, just last year of 2015, and it was announced to be released in Japan. So taking a look here, of course still sealed. I've never actually gotten a chance to take a look into it, so let's just jump right into it, shall we? So, my trusty blade. Get this stuff resolved here. Awesome. So I've heard a lot about this player, and of course, you know, Pioneer and Onkyo have their own different devices, and of course the Onkyo is a dual DAC and dual amp configuration, whereas this is a single DAC and a single amp. So just a quick look around the box. Of course, you'll see the side of the player, the front, and of course high res right here. And yeah, it's just a very generic looking box, nothing too special on the outside. One side's empty, and of course if you really need to, there's just the specs on the back of the box. So with that aside, let's just pull this right off. Very smooth, actually rather good quality in terms of the cardboard, so that's really nice. And taking a look around here, it's just your generic, clean, empty black box. So because this is an Asian style, you do have to open it from, I guess, you know, left to right in this case. Box is very similar to something like the Beats by Dre unboxing, by the looks of it here, as it's normally flapped on one side and you open it like a book, almost. So magnetized here, flip it over. Wow, really nice here in terms of how the packaging is like. Foam to make sure you keep the player nice and protected here. So in the first part here, let's just take out the player, see how this will become. And of course you got some tape here just trying to keep the seal on and whatnot, so let's try and take this out in a hopefully well-mannered way. Not as good as I thought, but pretty good. So actually very well packaged, so I'm quite satisfied with that. So let's just put that to the side for now. Nothing left on this left side compartment by the looks of it here. It's well sturdy and glued. You have a pull tab here. Let's just take a look and see what's inside. Alright, so just as a heads up again, because this is a premium quality product, packaging is not cheap. It's actually quite well padded, very stiff cardboard, so that's really good. Taking a look in here, it seems like we have a quick start guide, if you guys can read that really quickly here. Sorry for the reflection. And of course, you know, some other manual related things and authenticity and whatnot. Not that important. But of course, there will be instructions if you need some assistance there, especially when you're trying to sync up your services and whatnot, like the SD card. Over here though, nothing left. Again, just a velcroed region in terms of how it is like. Last but not least though, it is included with a micro USB cable. So used for charging, used for syncing, a very useful product. So let's go back to the player now. Already without even opening it here, very sturdy, has a nice weight to it. So let's just take a look here. Wow. Look at that. It looks amazing. Okay, so let's just slide this off here. So, that looks so good. Wow. You know, aside from the little streaking here on the protection sheet, that's not that big of a deal. So, let's make sure that this is in focus. Awesome. So, in terms of how the actual device looks like here, if you can see, you know, you have a bit of engraving on the side embossed. In terms of just the flat out look, it's very wide, very structured, I guess. The wheel and the knob, you know, it's somewhat tactile. It's kind of a smooth wheel. You can feel each little bump, so I think a lot of people like that for the accuracy for volume. On the side though, it's only the volume knob. On the underside here, it is a speaker, and of course the USB to charge. On the right side of this player, you have the dual micro SD slot. You have a you know, fast forward or reverse, you know, play, pause, fast forward, and then of course the power button. In terms of just pressing it, it has a nice little tactile feel to it, so it's pretty good. On the top here, you only have a 3.5mm microphone jack, and of course the bumper, which is used to make sure that the connectivity and the connection of the jack isn't going to be ruined in any way. And last but not least, I guess you can say the back of the device. It's just a nice engraved version of Pioneer, so yeah, it looks amazing. I'll start to get this device booted up for us, and then we can definitely take a look of and see what's actually inside and how we can go through Android device. So one moment, and of course, just as a heads up here, we also have the XDP case, and it can, if you wanted to see the specific code, it is the XDP-100, and it is indeed a slim leather case for the 100R here, if you guys can read that. So yeah, actually it's pretty nice. Let's take a look into this, or crack the box open for us. Again, have to get the trusty blade. Oh, a nice chrome blade, I guess you can say. If I can just get this cut open. Awesome. Get that pulled out here. And again, this is a genuine case from Pioneer, and I'm sure you guys saw that just on the corner of this packaging here, and trust me, this is not cheap. It is very expensive. I kind of wish that the player itself came with something, but in this case, nope. Although, you know, for a player that's like $600, $700, especially in Canadian terms, yeah, that's really expensive. But the feel of this case itself, though, it's not bad. It's kind of smooth to some degree. Of course, a big enough option for the wheel here, speaker, USB port, nothing's gonna block that. In terms of the side, nice and opened area for the switches. Back, nothing much, and it's as simple as sliding the device in by the looks of it here, so it's pretty nice. And of course the inside here is nice and padded to some degree, so it won't scratch anything. Overall, I'm kind of satisfied with the case. Hopefully it won't break down or anything like that. I see that, you know, some issue might be caused here down the road from wear and tear. It seems like this portion on the right side may just be glued in, but you know, we'll have to see and find out in a little moment here. So I'm just gonna put this back on a quick hold, and let's try and get this all set up for you. Alright, so now that we're back here today, so basically we still have just a case that I recently unboxed. Same goes for the player, which I still left the protection screen on here for now. Let's just try and take a look and make sure, you know, if this will fit the way we want it to. So of course, simple slip and slide, I guess you can say. Okay. So overall, not too shabby looking, I think. Again, like I mentioned before, tons of room in regards to what is relatively available for us when we do use the player. And it doesn't seem like it's blocking anything whatsoever, so I do quite like this design on the case. And by the looks of it, you know, it's pretty sturdy in terms of trying to, you know, it's not loose. I think, you know, you do have to put quite a bit of force in order to take the case off. So, given the downtime that we had here, yeah, I want to mention that I got the device already set up here, and I did indeed already put one SD card here, or micro SD card. What I found actually just now, you know, I won't have access to get into the SD port. However, I guess the case will be used as a kind of dust cover, since if I just pull this out here, hopefully very gently, I have to use the rail here to just pull it out. It's that tight. There is no slot to cover here in terms of any of these, so dust is, you know, relatively capable of slipping in here. Now I only put one SD card here because that's just what I have at this point, and it's in the first slot. So I guess this can be used as a dust cover for the time being. So once I boot up this thing here, let's just go back to the home screen. This is how the device looks like. Very plain, and you know, kind of simple. Let me just make sure we can somehow refocus this here. Very plain, and you only have 4 basic setups. You got your, I guess, music play screen, and just, yeah, everything else seems to be relatively empty. It is your Android, or stock Android to some degree, if I can see if I can pull anything down here. Right now, there you go. Took long enough. So, stock Android, adjusting screen brightness, you know, Wi-Fi and all that stuff here. Standalone mode, line out mode, and I'll get into detail for what that stuff is in just one moment. In terms of how we can go about it, you know, you can always take a look, see what kind of applications are really on it. Because it is stock Android though, it's basically all the Google apps and whatnot. Now I haven't installed any kind of applications on it just yet, but in terms of what is relatively available, all the same widgets that you would see on any other type of phone, maybe plus or minus a few bonus ones, of course. Now let's get into what we have for the actual music itself. I mean, although this is a music player, of course we want to go through that information. So, of course, with onboard storage, sorry for keeping the protection sheet here. I will be getting an actual sheet on later on once that arrives. So you have internal storage, SD1, SD2, and then USB storage. Of course, we'll just focus on the internal and SD. Now, what's nice about this screen here is, although, you know, nothing's playing just yet, you can always see, you know, what kind of playlist you have. You can also see and filter by artist, album, songs, genre. And I think this is very useful, especially the genre thing, if you do have everything labeled properly. Compilations, composer, and even format. So that's really nice. So you can always filter yourself from WAV to MP3, AAC, FLAC, and OGG. So that's really good. So, oops, let's just reset that one more time here. I'm just going to go into an SD card slot. Let's just go from here. Now, of course, aside from these 2 folders, like the Android and the lost DIR, I'm gonna have to worry about that stuff in a little bit here, but the main folder that I made was indeed for the albums here. So as you can see, right now I have a 64GB slot right now for my SD card slot 1. And of course you'll see a bunch of folders and everything. Now I didn't filter it directly between what is FLAC and what is not. This is just an albums list. So I'm going to choose one, for example here, Above and Beyond. Big fan, especially with what they do have. And recently I only just put in the acoustic albums for the time being. Of course you can see, you know, the entire song list and everything here. Of course I just chose a random song. Let's just make sure there's no volume. And of course the knob is very accurate. One step is indeed just a plus or minus, or you can just do it manually once you do wiggle it here. Now getting into the interface, you see it's kind of plain Jane. You know, you can enable or disable the album art if you wish. I prefer to have it disabled for the most part. Sometimes if you can't see anything, I'll just use this as an example. Now music is still playing, but sometimes it might be a little too bright, or it might get in the way of what's actually relatively available, and you know, based off color contrast and whatnot, it could be quite an annoyance. Now from here, again, I'm just gonna leave it for now. If you check it out on this right side, you do have, you know, you can enable the DSP functions, you know, lock ranges. What's nice about this player is that you can actually do an upsampling mode, and of course it's only relatively available for specific audio upsamplings with specific formats. In this case, if it was like a 48 kilohertz file, then you know, you can go about it. Now you also have a club sound boost. Not quite sure when you'll really use this, especially when you're getting a player like this. And of course you can always label and change a few things and go into your settings to try and find out what else there is. From here on this screen though, you can either scroll up or scroll down. By scrolling down, or scrolling up I guess you can say, you go into the equalizer mode, I guess. And what's here is that you'll see, I know you probably can't see it on the screen now, it seems a little too bright. There's present on the left side and EQ edit on the right. EQ edit, you can actually, you know, move your filters around and do what you want. And of course you can see the equalizing band down here from 32 to 32, so that's pretty good. And you can just save your own personal adjustments. Of course, they also have built-in ones, in this case flat, 11 band, dance, jazz, pop, rock, and vocal. And if I were to say I choose one, close that for now, you'll see that it automatically adjusts based off, you know, what option you chose. So it's very nice and very simple to get into this menu, and it's as simple as just scrolling. So if I scroll up, you'll end up seeing a queue of what your music list is like, and of course you can expand that here and just make sure and choose what else there is. So this is an entire album. I'm just going to choose number 10 here, On a Good Day, in of course black format in this situation. And then of course you'll see the name change right here. So it's pretty useful if you always want to say that you wanted to skip a few songs, or if in this case there's an edit queue button here, and there's also a save as playlist button right over here. And of course I know you guys can't really see that because it's a little too bright, so I do apologize. But it most definitely adds, you know, ease of access, so to speak. At the same time, on this same screen here, you can also swipe to your right, and then of course you can kind of go and gauge, you know, what else was available back and forward. So you'd be originally on, say, let's go back to a regular screen here, and then you can actually go back to the previous folder that you just looked into in terms of the music that you're actually originally listening to. So that's really nice in terms of this player, and I think it's really smooth. If you actually start listening to the device, I think it actually does a lot here. So I'm just going to put this on a brief hold here, and I'm just going to try and have some tests with the 3.5 jack here, and I'll explain that in just one moment. Alright, so I just got some headphones around here. Basically, kind of simple. I just wanted to go for the extreme and, you know, for the, I guess you can say a generic jack, right? So this, of course, is a 90-degree angled jack, kind of thick, and these are for the Shure SE215s. And I just found these lying around. Okay, I do have other headphones, of course. At the same time, in terms of something that else I can use here, these are I guess 45-degree angled jacks from the V-Moda crossfades. So these are your standard jacks, I guess you can say, aside from just this. Last but not least, just hold on here. We can also think of any kind of standard usages, say for example, let's say, hold on here please, let me just try and see if I can gouge this out. Actually, it wasn't even necessary, but let's just do that. Your standard straight jack too, and again, these are the Xiaomi's. I'm sure you guys already know what they are all about. So, in terms of how the fit and finish goes, when it comes to if this bar is really required for removal, actually, no, not really. So, some people might find it annoying, and you know, some people might actually like the look of keeping this top bar on. So, as an example here, let's just go with a 45-degree angled jack right in. So, actually, let me just put it in the correct way. Yeah, so in terms of how this would work, you know, it's not gonna twist too far. You know, it's blocked off at this point in time. And what's nice is that, you know, you won't actually stretch it too much. It's actually a really good guardrail if you actually plan on using this device on the go quite frequently. At the same time, on the extreme level, I guess you can say, with a jack that's basically twice, if not 3 times as thick at the head, it might end up actually being an issue. But when I actually tried it on the device itself, surprisingly, I can get that here to focus, surprisingly, there's not too much of an issue here. Now there of course, you can't really see it too well. It barely makes it, barely. But for a jack like this, at this type of size, that's quite impressive. And again, it stops it from moving any more and, you know, too much strain going on, right? So it does keep it relatively simple. Now it does look really big, but it's not too big of a deal at the end of the day. Now, what I've noticed about this device also came to become the speaker portion here today. I mean, it's kind of nice. I actually thought I could use it as like a stand for it. No, that wouldn't be the case. maybe because I do have a case on it though. But for the most part, you know, I know this has some use just because it's a guardrail for the actual USB connection right here. And trust me, it actually, you know, fits the way you want it to. Speaker, on the other hand, I don't know. I think they just wanted to make sure that the design was very linear and ended up becoming very equal on both ends. So that's probably why they decided to do that here. For the most part though, both ends are removable. Sadly, didn't come with a screwdriver for you to remove it, but it is definitely something to consider. Now, overall though, I have gotten a chance to listen to the player a little bit, actually just overnight, and I'm quite satisfied with how it is. The song transitions are always very smooth, you know, to me, depending what I'm listening to. I think its soundstage is definitely like a lot better than, say, for example, an old school X3 here, a Feel X3, first generation. Don't mind the destroyed cover. And then even though I didn't have a great amplification with it, I do have like a old school Feel amp here, the Kilimanjaro, so you know this is old school. But I think overall, as for a device, you know, as for a standard 3.5, and as for like the adjustments in terms of its volume, of course it is relatively high up. I normally do need to boost my volume levels to maybe around the 80 mark. I know some people say that certain IEMs needed to go even beyond that, up to the actual limit, so that's actually quite impressive. I don't think any of my headphones have that kind of issue. I also have like the Sennheiser IE80s. I think they sound amazing on this device. But overall, you know, in terms of battery life, and I never really gotten the full chance to really test it, it's okay. It's not as good as you would maybe think it would be. It has the potential to, if you root it. I have read some forum posts on HeadFi about it. I haven't gotten a chance to do it yet, but if you really want to try and maximize the usage of an Android style device, that's most definitely the best choice. Now, on top of that though, realistically speaking, I think this is a great overall player. It has a lot of, you know, opportunity for enhancements. Of course, I know for a fact that a lot of people are really working on trying to get their Tidal and Spotify and even Onkyo music to work properly here in terms of the built-in applications. Other than that though, I think that's really about it. You know, if you guys do have any other questions or concerns about this device, please let me know. Leave a comment down below. But thank you once again for taking a quick look at my unboxing and overview of the Pioneer XDP-100R, and especially with the case too. And other than that, thank you once again, and I hope to speak with you guys soon. Take it easy now. Peace.